So one of the things that's important to me about the Biblio Monkey is that you know how to use everything in there. And this is why I actually don't give you a bunch of stuff right off the bat and get you to add your own, because you'll then know how everything actually works. So let me show you how we can populate a Biblio Monkey database with some things that hopefully you'll find useful. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop open my Biblio Monkey database here and show you that it is fairly empty. I have one formula in here for a global volume increase with override cells. I'm going to get back to that one a little bit later and show you how it works. But first, I'm going to show you how we actually create a new Biblio Monkey item. So let's look at the business problem first. Over here, I have a formula which is taking my revenue and dividing it by the anchored gross revenue here. And this formula is used to determine a percent of revenue for every single line item. However, it's showing a divide by zero error. Now you could argue and say, hey, you know what, Ken, you should really be testing whether or not R8 is zero and then not dividing, and that's fair. But I'm going to be lazy here and do this a different way. I'm just going to wrap this in if error, comma zero. Okay, so we're going to go if error, comma zero, and close our parenthesis. So we're taking the existing cell contents that we had, the round R8 divided by the absolute R8, comma 3, and we're wrapping it in that if error construct. When I hit enter, you'll see that that works no problem. The thing is that I want to do that exact same thing to every single cell in this column. You think, well, how hard is that? Copy and paste. Well, yeah, but all the absolute and relative references are set up correctly. That's not a problem. You can see that here and here. These things are working just fine. But when we get to the next line, we've got a subtotal. Now, I still want to actually wrap this one in if error as well. Now, it may not be necessary, but I want to do it anyway, just in case. We move down to the next one. There's another subtotal here, so I can't copy paste that. If I move down to the table here, these ones here, well, these ones all look just fine. But then we get to another subtotal, and when we get into the foot right on the very bottom here, you'll notice this is a completely different structure altogether. So how do I go about wrapping these things all in an if error zero construct as quickly as possible? And this is where the Biblio Monkey can come in and help you out. This is a common thing that I want to do, is wrap something in if error. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this entire formula. Equals Control C. There we go. We're now going to open the Biblio Monkey. And what we'll do is we'll go to Add New, and we'll add a formula. And I'm going to call this one if error 0. And then I'm going to give this a description. So there we go. Wrap the current cell contents in if error x0. I'm now going to go Control V and we'll paste the formula in here. Now remember, the original formula that I was dealing with was this, and this is the important and the hard part of working with Biblio Monkey, is making sure when you're selecting things you don't get too much or too little. Once you've got that though, we want everything outside of what I've selected to be applied to the contents of the cell. So what I'm going to do is, instead of pasting this in, I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to say, let's add a new prompt here for cell contents. Now this isn't actually going to prompt us. It's basically going to say, give me the contents of the Excel, strip off any equal sign that's in there, wrap it in any of the other characters that aren't in this, within these curly brace tags, put the equals back on the front and stuff it in the cell. Just that simple. Let's prove that. We're going to hit save. There we are. And now you'll notice we have if error 0 here with the description that we put in. So I'm now going to hit exit, and I'm going to go and select every one of these little guys here. And then we're going to say right click, insert from Biblio Monkey. We're going to go to formula and we're going to choose if error 0. And just like that, boom, everything is done. So let's take a look. This one has our if error with the rounding. Again with the rounding. This is the if error for the subtotal. Another if error subtotal. When we move down, we got a bunch of rounding ones, another subtotal, and there is our foot of S15 minus S26 that has now been wrapped in the if error structure. And the nice thing about this is that anywhere that I want to do this, let's say that these guys are pulling from somewhere else and I want to be really careful with these, I can also go right click, insert, formula, if error 0, and boom, every one of those has now been wrapped in that same if error structure. So this is really, really useful. And I might create different versions of this for different things. Like, for example, if I hop back into Biblio Monkey here, maybe I would say, you know, this if error 0 here for a second, what I want to do is I want to add a new version that gives me if error blank. Well, it's pretty easy to do. I can just go and copy this formula, say add new. We can go and say, let's call this if error blank. And then we can wrap current cell contents in if error x comma quote quote. There we are. I can paste that in there. Just put in a pair of double quotes. Nice, that'll work. It's an if error, whatever this current cell contents is, quote quote, to return nothing. We can save that, and boom, there we go. We now have two different options that we can call as needed to do what we want. So for example, if I wanted to do that here for some reason, and I actually don't really want to do that here, but it's just a simple right click formula, and there's my if error blank, and it will actually go and drop that into the cell, wrap every one of those formulas in there, and away we go. So nice and simple way to be able to create a reusable formula set that you can apply to different things. Now, full disclosure on this one, of course, this is wrapping the cell contents. What if we wanted to do something more? This worksheet shows a format of statement that I used to use all the time as a controller. And basically what it is we had some 2022 sales data that we've listed down here for our units sold. And we're trying to create our 2023 forecast. And the concept that we're looking here is that we want a global volume increase of 5%, but we want to override that in specific cases, maybe with a 10% or 0 minus. If it's blank, we want to use 5%. If it has a value of any kind, we want to use that instead. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go and select the range of data where I want all of my subtotals, and I'm going to recall a formula that I've written before and stored in Biblio Monkey. So I'm going to go right click here, insert from Biblio Monkey, formula, and I'm going to choose this volume forecast with override. This is a bit more of a complex formula. I don't want to type this every single time. And this is a common structure that I'll use. So I'll go and click on that, and you'll notice it's popped up with a whole bunch of information that it wants me to fill in. It's picked up the apply to range. That's what I selected beforehand. It says, where is your global volume increase? So I'm going to go and select this particular cell right here. We can see we've got F7. My monthly override percentage is going to be right here, H15, and the monthly volume that I'm working with is going to be H14. And the thing I want you to recognize about this is that all of these things, as I selected them, tagged correctly with the absolute and relative values based on what I actually set up in the signature. And when I go and say inject right now, you can see that all of these populate, and we're now going to get the kind of gross and ugly formula here that we need to see. So let me just go and expand this, and you can see that it looks like this. It's a let function with 3 variables that have been created. It's got the values in that I plugged in, F7, H15, H14, and it's got the rest of the signature pattern. You can understand why I don't want to write this from scratch every single time I use it. So how does that look in the Biblio Monkey? Well, in order to build this, what I did is I built this once, and then I copied the formula, Control C. I went into the Biblio Monkey, and I said, cool, let's go and grab this guy right here, paste it in. You can see it's got the equals on this one here. We're smart enough to work that part out. And then what I did is I actually went and tagged the actual cell references with a variety of different pieces here. Now you'll notice I would take that back just one character. So this is where it would say something like F7. And what I would do is I'd right click on this and I'd say add new prompt. And you'll notice that we get a whole bunch of different options here. You can have text or values, the cell contents, fully absolute, absolute column, relative rows. You've got worksheet names, qualified references. Those are the ones that are going to go with a worksheet name, bang, then the actual fully absolute or not. Each of these things you can enter in place. And when you do this, it will actually pop up something. So let me just go and grab this right here, enter global increase. I'm going to go and just delete this for a second. We'll go back to here, just put an A, and here we go. This is going to be a fully absolute reference. It pops up and says, what do you want for the prompt? I'm going to type in that, enter global percentage increase, and you can see that that's what it puts in place there. And therefore, when you actually go and recall this formula, it pops up with your defined prompts to pick up the correct reference type. And that's where the real strength of Biblio Monkey comes in, is you've created this so you know what this actually does. I mean, not this one's mine, but you get the idea is as you build these up, you're going to experiment with it, play with it, and understand how they work, and you're only going to put things in here that actually matter to you. Thanks for watching this episode of Using Monkey Tools. To get your own monkey, visit our website at monkeytools.ca. Or if you subscribe to Skillwave's Self-Service Business Intelligence Academy, you'll get a free annual pro license included with your subscription. And remember, Monkey Tools was developed to support better Excel and Power BI solutions. If you want to learn how to really master these tools, you should definitely check out our full course catalog at skillwave.training.